Hello, my name's Jim Robertson. I'm the head brewer of Wells & Young's Brewery in Bedford. Some 35 years ago I decided I wanted to become a brewer and was fortunate enough to study at Heriot-Watt to actually get a degree in brewing. Then moving on to become a master brewer in 1983, and more recently I've worked with the Institute of Brewing and Distilling, helping other people become master brewers. So for 15 years I've been asking them questions and marking examinations. My whole career in working life has been with breweries, and I don't think I can think of a better one. We do use English malt in Bombardier. In fact, the malt we use for brewing our cask ale comes from East Anglia, mostly from Norfolk and Suffolk, and it's a special variety grown for making malt, which eventually becomes beer, and it's a variety called Pearl. Yes, it does, absolutely and most definitely. In fact, the BBPA, the British Beer and Pub Association, recently published a report called Beer, the Natural Choice. And this actually describes beer as a nutritional super drink in the world of alcoholic beverages. So what is it that's so good about beer, and why don't we crow about it? Well, historically we did crow about it. In the 1940s and 1950s you'd see a lot of adverts about beer is best. But these days, with modern anti-alcohol legislation, we're not allowed to make any claims at all in this area, because as well as nutritious items, beer does also contain alcohol. But let's remember, most beer is quite low in alcohol compared to spirits like vodka and gin, or wines that can be anything up to 3 times the level of alcohol in a serving compared to beer. So what is good about beer? Well, I think probably the most important mineral that beer has is soluble silica. And soluble silica is excellent for bones, for hair, for nails, and 1/2 pint of beer can give you 1/3 of the daily requirement for soluble silica. So within the government guidelines, you can drink enough beer to have the silkiest, smoothest hair you can get and the strongest teeth and bones. The name Bombardier reflects our admiration and respect for the military, particularly for the Royal Artillery, which the Wells family have a history of service in. So Bombardier is really named after Bombardier Billy Wells, and the film buffs amongst you will know Billy was the man who banged the gong at the beginning of the Rank Organisation films. There's no technical reason why beer should have a higher alcohol content in bottle than in cask. It tends to be more related to the occasion for which the beer is designed. So bottled beer is designed for that little treat at home, that personal moment perhaps when you're watching your favourite football team on TV and you're sitting and savouring a smaller volume of beer. Cask, on the other hand, is designed for sharing with friends and socialising in the pub. So again, by definition, you're probably going to be drinking a larger quantity, and a little less alcohol is probably a good thing. A good question. The history of porter is that it was a dark, fairly sweet beer that traditionally was designed for the London porters in the London markets. So it's actually designed for refreshment and hydration. So from that point of view, really a true London porter should be around about 4% ABV. Higher ABVs and you start to get into the province of what would generally be called a stout. Probably nearly as many times as I misspell it, but particularly if I'm across in the US, they do have a particular desire to call it Bombardier, and allegedly there has been some confusion between our beer and a skidoo, but let's not go into that. Best is always a difficult word to define, but I think it goes to the provenance. So if you're brewing an English ale, you are going to get the best hops for an English ale from England. The one theme that runs through all of our raw materials is the people who grow them for us. So the best hops will come from the best growers, and the best growers from the region that our beer is originated. Every invention has to start with an idea. So someone needs to have an idea for a new beer, and if I was using jargon, I'd say we have to identify the white space. And the white space is the consumer without a product. So quite often the best place to start is to identify the white space. Where is the missing slot in the market? We must then define what beer it is that fills that spot. So what's its colour, what's its taste, what's its bitterness, what's its strength, and finally what's its package, and how we're going to get it to the consumer. Once we've defined all of that, we can get into the technical detail, we can calculate recipes, we can choose raw materials. Mix it all together and underpin it with our natural high quality, particularly water. All of our beers start with natural mineral water. That's very easy, Young's Bitter. I think because Young's Bitter is the typical London ale, one that I have been brought up with all my working life. It's satisfying without being too high in alcohol. Very simple in terms of its ingredients, but we know where they all come from. We even know the chaps who grow the barley to make the malt for every single pint of Young's, and some of them are personal friends. So what better beer to drink than Young's Bitter? Well, I think probably my first recommendation would be pop down to your local pub, have a pint of Young's or a pint of Bombardier and think again. But having done that, if you still want to do it, there are certain key things that are important. Firstly, your ingredients. Take care with your ingredients, particularly the water, because it's 95% of beer in most cases. The second thing is you must keep everything scrupulously clean, because you don't want unauthorized fermentation, so you don't want things in there that you don't plan to have in there. And last but not least, select your yeast with care. Yeast is very important in home brewing, and if you use the wrong type of yeast, say a bread yeast, you will get the wrong flavours. Do Young's produce a homebrew kit? No, they don't, but if, again, you still insist on brewing your own, perhaps you should go to Munton's, who do produce homebrew kit and are associated with our businesses.